What's up, BFM? This is Big Tone coming at you from Big Tone Productions Beats and Feast. We're gonna do a soup recipe today. This recipe I would always see on the menu at Olive Garden, and it was always a little intimidating because I didn't know what was in it. I didn't know how to say the name. But we're gonna replicate this recipe today. I've done it before. I actually like it better than theirs, but don't tell them because I still go to Olive Garden. But this is basically, it's called
Zuppa Toscana.
The name is basically means soup derived from or in the style of Tuscany, Italy. So we're gonna take a crack at this and we'll see how it comes out. But before we do, I need you guys to do me a favor. I need you to go down below, like, comment, and subscribe, and also share this video. I appreciate everybody that's doing that as of now and making our channel grow, so I really appreciate that. But it really it motivates me to to try to make these videos for you, and hopefully you like them and try them out for your family. I've had a couple comments that way, so hopefully you like this one. But give me a second, we'll be right back and we'll start the video. So we're gonna start this with, you're gonna need some EBO. We're gonna need some red pepper flakes, that's all this is. Some black pepper, my Himalayan sea salt, or just regular salt or sea salt. And then we're gonna use some Italian sausage, a pound of it, heavy whipping cream, and then I have about 5 slices of bacon I cut up here, as you can see it. And then we're gonna use some chicken broth. This happens to be Rachel Ray, but you can use whatever you like. And then of course we're gonna use potatoes. And we got some kale back here. I'll introduce that here in a second. But to get started, I basically just chopped up some bacon here, about 5 slices of bacon. And we just kind of coarsely chop them. But we're gonna sear these off in my power pressure cooker here. All right, so I'm just gonna dump that in. All right, and we're just basically gonna sear that off, okay? It's gonna take about 5 minutes or so to sear up, and then I'll come back and show you what I do next. Guys, as you can see here, I've got my bacon seared off and nice and brown and golden brown. Tastes pretty good too.
Bruh.
All right, so I'm gonna set that aside, okay? Next thing is that we're gonna sear off a pound of Italian sausage. So we just got the Jimmy Dean. All right, this is Bob Evans. It's one of them. Anyway, we're gonna put that in here and brown it off. All right, there we go. We set that aside. And we're gonna basically sear that the same way. Well, if I can do it correctly. We'll put this in sear mode. And we're just gonna chop it up in here. So we're gonna sear that off. It's gonna take a few minutes and we'll be back in just a moment. All right, guys, so we got our Italian sausage basically just searing down in here and getting nice and brown. While this is still searing, I'm gonna add my red pepper flakes here. And this is just a little bit of heat, not much. There we go. Add a little bit more. And then I'm gonna add a whole onion to this. All right. Just finely chopped up onion there. All right, we're gonna stir that around in here. I'm gonna add just a little bit more of the red pepper flakes, just a tad bit more. And stir that around up in here. And we're gonna let that cook for just a little bit. When I come back, I'll show you inside of the pot so you can see it, okay? All right, guys, as you can see, I got my onions, I got my red pepper flakes, and I got my Italian sausage in there stewing up. So at this point, we're gonna add the potatoes. So give me a second, I'll show you what the potatoes look like, okay? All right, guys, so now we're gonna add our potatoes to this. Now, typically, I will cook these potatoes if I'm doing this in a slow cooker. I will cut them much thinner. But since I'm gonna put them under pressure, I'm gonna cut them a little bit thicker. So I basically just cut the potatoes in half, and we're gonna cut them in about 1/4 inch pieces. So kind of like a half moon shape, okay? So this is what you end up with. About a 1/4 inch, half moon shape. I'm gonna cut the rest of these up and I'm gonna add them to our pot here. All right, so we're just gonna simply add this to the pot. All right, and then we're also gonna add our bacon back into the mixture, okay? Everything goes better with bacon. And if you notice, I did not take out the bacon grease earlier. I wanted that to be in there as a seasoning, okay? All right, so we're just gonna put that in here, make sure it's incorporated a little bit. And now we're gonna add our salt and pepper. And I can't give you an exact measurement of how much pepper I'm adding. I'm adding it until it looks right. I probably will add more later. And now I'm gonna add my Himalayan sea salt. All right, the next thing that we gotta add is our chicken broth or chicken stock. So we basically wanna fill this until the potatoes are covered, okay? So I'm gonna add one of these. This is, I believe this is 32 ounces of chicken stock. And I got a second one here just in case. It's not enough. And if I can get my camera person to come over and just manually show you how much chicken stock I'm putting in here, that'd be great. So that's one. I'm gonna add a little bit more of this other one. So I think you can see that. So I'm basically just, till they're covered here. So I'm adding, I didn't have quite a whole one there, so that's probably about, I don't know, 32, maybe 48 ounces maybe. So I got everything in here nicely incorporated, okay? All right, so as soon as we come back, I'm gonna put the lid on here. Now this is very quick in the pressure cooker. Typically it takes a couple hours in the crock pot or on the stove, but we're basically just gonna cook this under pressure. It only takes between 5 and 8 minutes, depending on your pressure cooker. All right, so I'm basically just gonna put this on high. I do have a soup setting on here, but sometimes the soup setting doesn't get as hot, so I wanna cook it on high for 5 minutes first, okay? So I'm hitting the chicken and meat button. Then I'm increment it up, of course, to the high heat. Then I'm gonna increment it down to 15 minutes, which is as low as it goes on this particular setting. But I'm gonna come back in about 5 minutes and check it, and we'll see what's going on with the soup. Okay. So the soup is done. I've already released the pressure. As you can see inside of the pressure cooker now, it's bubbling a little bit because I turned it back on as I'm gonna add this kale here. Okay. So I'm gonna add the kale. It's gonna look like it's a lot of kale, but it's actually not, okay? It's gonna wilt down, and that's what we wanna do, is get it to wilt down. So I'm basically just putting the leaves of the kale in, and I'm cutting them up a little fine. I don't want them in big chunks. All right, it is a rustic dish, but I don't want them in huge chunks. So just a moment, let me cut up another little batch of kale here. Give me that wooden spoon. Okay, so I got the kale in here. Let's see if I'm gonna add some more. I'm gonna stir this around here. I'll try to be a little bit gingerly with it here. All right, then that's enough kale. I'm gonna put a little bit more in. Oops, sorry about that, hitting the camera. I'm gonna put just a little bit more in here. Let me turn that off for you guys. And then we're gonna put this in here, and then I'm gonna add my cream, the richness to this dish. All right, so we're gonna add a little bit more kale here. We're gonna stir this around just a little bit until it wilts down in there. Not gonna do too much stirring because the potatoes will start to fall apart. And then the next thing we're gonna add is the richness. So I'm gonna use, well, we're gonna see. I got a whole quart of cream, heavy whipping cream here. So I'm gonna pour this in and stir at the same time. And by the way, I did leave the skins on the potato. It just gives another texture to it. So if you want to take them off, feel free. I just like the texture of it. All right, so here we go. You don't need to turn it back on anymore. The kale will wilt in there and you put the cream in. I've used about half of this, so I've used about a pint or 16 ounces of cream here. And we're basically just gonna let that, I'm gonna turn down just a little bit just to get it bubbling again. And I'll come back and I'll display what it looks like in the bowl for you guys. All right, BFM, so here we go with the finished version of the Zuppa Toscana, my version of Olive Garden Zuppa Toscana. Another perfection in the bowl. If you like this recipe, go ahead and give it a try. I'm sure your family's gonna love it. But if you like the recipe, just go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. And go ahead and share it. Share it to everybody. We love it, and it always gives me motivation. If you want to see me cook anything, leave it in the comments. This is Big Tone, signing off. Peace.